Okay. Good evening, it's Robert Sidell. This is the Gateway Show on every Sunday night from 6 to 7, 6 to 7, but I want to put 30 on there tonight. 6 to 7 p.m. live. I know it's kind of funny, isn't it? But it's a great, great pleasure to be here with you, broadcasting live, the number one talk station in Las Vegas, and simulcasting on Facebook. So if you want to listen on Facebook, you can listen on Facebook. For those of you who are driving in your car or sitting at home, or if you might be on the radio, I welcome you to the show. I know we have a lot of loyal listeners on the radio because people call me from time to time at the office, and or one way or another, I find out that you're out there listening. So I just want I really appreciate all of you too. On Facebook, I can sort of see if people post comments or things like that. But for those of you on the radio, just want we really appreciate you being with us too. This show is on live, like I said, every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. And I've been doing it for a lot of years, really. And the whole idea of this show is that there's better ways to live our lives on every single level. Everything. I mean, new business opportunities, new life possibilities, new ways to create more fulfillment. And so that's kind of the whole idea of this show. It's just, what can you and I do to live a better life during the gift of time we have on this earth, which none of us know how long that's going to be. And as we get older, it becomes clearer and clearer. But
it's shorter and shorter.
It does. What's that?
It gets shorter and shorter.
Shorter and shorter, yes. So actually, now since she just spoke a little bit, for those of you on Facebook, you can see her. We have hey Debbie, how you doing? Nice to see you on there. We have Suzy Prudden here tonight, which is going to be. This will be fun. It's always fun for me to do this, but it'll be fun talking to Suzy. She's kind of a character. Those of you looking at her, look at the glasses she's wearing. You got to be a character by wearing those glasses, right, Suzy?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and each year we get older, we look for more. That's why I sometimes wear a creative, flamboyant jackets too. Sort of the same thing.
I love your jackets.
Oh, thanks.
When you show up at the Rockstar programs and you're wearing these wonderful jackets, it's like it's a statement.
Oh, I appreciate. Well, you know what? It's kind of sort of stumbled into that. I went to a cowboy gift show here in Las Vegas many years ago, and there was a place that sells. They call it the Frontier Clothing Company, and I thought, well, I'll get a couple jackets. And it's funny because my kids were saying, "Dad, you're never going to wear those. Why would you even get them?" And then I wore one to one of the Rockstar Mastermind groups, which this is a group that Suzy and I both belong to. And as a matter of fact, I should have tagged Craig. But anyway, and I got a lot of positive feedback. And I thought, oh, this can work for me. So I started doing it more. And then next thing I wasn't just wearing it at the masterminds. I wear them not in the summers quite so much, but I wear them in the winter a lot in Las Vegas. And it's just fun. You got to find ways to play in life, right?
Well, it's also, yeah. And it's also a signature. So these glasses that I'm wearing.
Yeah.
I started wearing them because I like them on Zooms. And I got a lot of feedback, a lot of saying, great, you look great, et cetera, et cetera. And I was speaking last year at an eWomen conference, and I was in a contest. I had 3 minutes on stage, and I wanted to have people remember who I am. In the contest, I didn't care if I won or not. What I wanted is for people in the audience to want to talk to me about what I do, and for them to write a book. And so I thought, because I'm a little lady, and I said, how am I going to get them to remember me? And I thought, I'll wear the glasses. So these have become my signature, and your jacket is pretty much like your signature. And so when I show up anywhere, I'm wearing glasses that don't have any, that are just plain. These I have to read with, but when I'm out and about, the glasses that I'm wearing are just plain glass or plain plastic. But it's my statement. It's my signature. People remember my glasses. And when I was in Trader Joe's recently, I've been to this particular store once, and I came in again, and the gentleman said, "Hi, I remember you. You're wearing the glasses." And I was like, "Thank you." So create a signature look, like you have your signature look when you show up at Craig's events. And it's that jacket, and it's gorgeous.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're giving me some good feedback too. And those of you listening to the show, that's what the show's always about. It's just, um, it's about different ideas. Well, all of us, I always like to say we're all one step away from a whole nother level of success on any part of our life, and and then we stumble upon that idea or get it somehow, and then later on we start thinking, why in the world did I not do this sooner? That's always how I know I'm on the right track when I think that. And but I also believe, by the way, it's in my book too, The Gateway, which I'll just quickly show that on here for anybody who doesn't have a copy. It's on Amazon and nationally published. And you know, I do believe the hare and the tortoise story. I think that if you could keep moving, the old story. Everybody. I'm just going to repeat it shortly, just for those that don't know it. Well, almost, I think everybody does. Younger people don't always know these stories now, but with the great competition between the hare and the tortoise, and to see who gets to the destination quickest, and the hare is so overconfident. They both start at the same time, and he looks over at the tortoise. Says, "This is such a slow tortoise. I don't even have to worry at all. I'm going to win so easily." And so he decides along the way to take a nap, and he falls asleep. And the tortoise just keeps moving the whole time, and he wins. Right? Is that more or less the right story? I think that's still the right story, right,
Yeah,
Susie?
it is. And it's interesting because those of us who've been around for a while, and I certainly have, we just keep going. Just keep going.
Keep going.
Just keep going.
I had a chance to.
And
Oh, go ahead.
no, I just said somebody asked me, said, what is your secret? And I said, it's just to keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. When you die, you stop. But until then, keep going. I'm 81 years old. Well, I will be in August. And
Well,
I've
you know
been,
what? I will say this: you don't look 81, and you're very vibrant. Yeah, I'm going to say something to you. My wife sometimes says things to me like this, but I mean this in a totally positive way. You're kind of full of it, right?
I am. I'm definitely full of it. I've been full of it for years. I've been in business since 1965. And I just wrote a chapter in a book, somebody else's book, not one of mine, and about my story. And I I started my company by accident. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it. And I created $1 million business, and I sold it in 83 and 1983. Is that when I sold it? Yeah.
But
And then I created another business, and then I created another
well, and
business.
you started since we ought to go. Oh, we're doing this just the perfect way, actually, just fine. But I am gonna tell a little bit about your background now that you started talking a little bit. Um,
Okay.
Susie, this is accurate, is why I'm reading it this way. Suzy Prudden is a legend and influencer for the past 45 years. She's bringing her expertise to the publishing world now. She is an award winning, internationally acclaimed speaker, workshop, and seminar leader, a New York Times best-selling author, which is hard to get, by the way. And she's also a fitness expert, body mind pioneer, hypnotherapist, success and empowerment coach, TV host, radio host, and creator of the Inner Mind Certification Program, and book publisher. You've seen Susie on Oprah, Good Morning America, and the Today Show. If Susie is talking about it today, the rest of the country will be talking about it tomorrow. That's the New York Times. Actually, I hadn't seen all that, so that was kind of fun for me to see. So,
Oh, trust me, Robert, I have a funny story for you. So I have to tell you because about what you just said. Janet Kunst, who she's now passed, a member of the Rockstar Group, was a social media expert, and I hired her to do my social media. And so we're talking on Zoom, and I said to her, I said, Janet, would you like me to send you my fact sheet? She said, sure. So I sent it to her, and I'm watching her read it. And then she looks up at me and she said, I'm so glad I didn't know this before I met you, because
that's funny.
I mean, it's really huge. I mean, I've been in business for 50 years and almost 50 years. I've done a lot, and I've done a lot in every area. And I'm excited about all the things that I've done. And while I was doing them, I didn't know that I was doing them.
Well,
I just,
something about you. I'm going to say, I think it's always interpreted as a compliment, but I'm going to say it in a complimentary way to you too. You've got kind of what the Yiddish word is chutzpah.
oh, definitely.
Yeah, you agree, yeah. And
Oh,
you told me somewhere you told me people you ought to listen to this little story because if you could apply this in your own lives, any of you to change your life, tell them how you first. Somebody said you could have a spot in some specialty area or something which you had no background in or something, but you said you could do it anyway? I'm probably getting a little mixed up, but you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, was this was for Oprah or something? You told something in one of our last meetings how you there was some sort of thing where they said, "Do you have the skill to do it?" You said, "I can do it."
I'll tell you what I did. It was Newsweek called me in
Oh,
New
okay,
York,
okay.
and they wanted to talk to me and have me tell them, send them a celebrity that I was working with to have that celebrity tell them what I was teaching her. And I said to them, I said, why do you want her to tell you when I'm the one teaching her? Why don't you have me tell you? And so they did. They interviewed me and they gave me 3 lines in Newsweek, just three sentences. Well, a producer from NBC read that, called me, wanted to talk to one of my celebrities that I was teaching. And I said to them the same thing. Why are you talking to them? Why not me? They wanted to do a pilot. We did the pilot in my studio with Dr. Frank Field, and it didn't go anywhere. But a producer from NBC saw it and invited me to do a 7-minute segment on the new show, The Prime of Your Life. This was in the 70s. And I had that job every Sunday from then on, 7 minutes on a live show on NBC, which then led to my own TV show on NBC before it was half an hour before the Today Show. And that led to me being the on-camera fitness expert for the Today Show. So, it's listen, my whole attitude and everything that I've done in my career has been say yes and figure it out.
Say yes and figure it out. Yeah. See now that this is if anybody listening, oops, I just noticed it's 6:15. We're going to go to a break in the radio, but you and I can keep going on the Facebook part. For those of you listening to the radio, this is Robert Sidell, the Gateway Show. I'm interviewing Suzy Prudden. Great principles of success she's sharing. If please stay tuned because we'll keep going over that when we get back to the radio. But those of you on Facebook, stay with us because if anybody listens to this, it could change your life. So this is Robert Sidell. Be back in just a moment. So Suzy, it's interesting. I've seen the same thing in my life. A lot of success is kind of a weird thing, actually. It's just saying yes, 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 yes. Even maybe what's weird about it is you don't know when you're on a narrow bridge that if you don't go over this bridge, your whole life would change. And if you did, probably a good thing you didn't know about it, right?
Uh,
I thought about that a lot of times. We'd be too scared, right? I I remember when I came to Las Vegas. Before I came to Las Vegas, I've been working at a big firm that represented President Reagan, and that's just one of the famous people. It's a big, huge law firm. And but I left there, and so but I wasn't quite sure what the next step was going to be. And so somebody told me,
right.
well, maybe you want to. There's some friend of his looking for somebody to work in Las Vegas, and call this guy. He might be able to offer you a job. So I kept this little scrap of paper in my pocket for 2 or 3 weeks, and one day I thought, maybe I'll call that guy. So I picked up the phone, called him. He goes, "Oh, we just interviewed everybody today for that job. We just completed our interviews." But he says, "But we haven't contacted them yet. So actually, we could still talk to you." And I said, "Well, what if I flew over tomorrow?" He goes, "That'd be great." He goes, "Come on over." So I got on a plane, Southwest. If I think it was a bit of Southwest, maybe it was PSA
Where
or
were
whatever.
you coming from?
L.A., not too far away, really.
Okay.
But
Okay.
anyway, I got on the plane and I came over, met with them, got a job offer before the end of the day. And so one person that was going to get the job didn't. And actually, ironically, his life turned out real, real well because he went on different things. He became a judge, so it worked out real well for him too. But here's the thing: I've thought about this many times. First of all, if I even realized how important that call was to my life, I probably wouldn't have been able to get the courage to even make the call. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a whole family, my wife, all these different things. But so, and the second thing is, had I delayed one day, he would have already
Right.
offered the job to somebody else. So there's so many little stories like that, and it's just a slightest change, and you wouldn't at all be where you are. And
Well, if I had given them the name of one of the celebrities that I worked with, I would never have been quoted in Newsweek. And then if I hadn't been quoted in Newsweek, the NBC producer would never have called me to do the pilot on NBC with Dr. Frank Field. And if I hadn't done that, then the producer who, even though it didn't go anywhere, a producer who was just starting a new show saw that interview with me on that pilot, liked what she saw, contacted me, and I had a television job for 3.5 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
I know.
amazing. You know that you just reminded me of something, but we're back on the air just a second. Good evening, this is Robert Sidell. You're welcome you back to the Gateway Show on every Sunday evening, 6 to 7 p.m. Tonight I'm interviewing Suzy Prudden, who's really her career goes back to the 70s and has been on Oprah and Today Show and all sorts of shows. She's written a New York Times bestseller. She's had multiple businesses. And tonight I'm going to be talking to her more about how to publish a book, which is kind of her current main business, I think. But the
Yeah, that's what
bottom
I'm doing right now.
right, and that could help anybody listening tonight. Anybody, your life could change from that. I guarantee it. And but I was going to say we were both talking during the break of how you got to say yes to opportunities because you never know when if you don't do the right thing, a whole door closes in your life. And you know who else told a story like that a little bit was Suzanne Summers. I'm guessing. Did you ever meet her? I don't know if you ever did or not.
I've
But
not been, no.
I met her. She only passed away about a year ago. I met her about 2 or 3 years ago, and she you know what? She was a very sweet person. I have to say, I really ended up liking her personally. Very sweet, very unpretentious,
She
and
wrote a really good book. I can't remember what year, what it was about family secrets. And it was a really, really good book about how families keep secrets and how when
really,
you
huh?
release the secret, things change in your family. And it was a really good book. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I
No, no, no,
interrupted.
no. What was interesting is that she told how she got Three's Company, which is her pathway to fame. But it's funny, she had come down to somehow or another. She did some sort of uh, she went down and tried out for some show or another, and in at the studios. I think it was at NBC. I don't even remember whatever one. Same one Johnny Carson's on. Here's the funny part. So she's this young blonde, you know. She would be happy to describe herself that way too. And so she goes to this thing and then says, "Well, when do I find out if I was chosen or not?" And they said, "Well, you won't. We won't know till later today." She says, "Okay, I'll just stick around." They said, well, "She says there's somewhere I can hang out." They said, "Well, there's the commissary. You can go to the commissary." So she goes to get a bite of food. She goes to the commissary. You're gonna love this story. It's so predictable.
I'm waiting. I know that something's coming, something big.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so guess who comes by? She's a pretty blonde, right? Johnny Carson. And he starts talking to her and saying, "What are you doing here?" Of course, we know why he's attracted to her on some level or another. And they start talking, and then she starts to say that to him that she's actually a poet and she's written some books of poetry. So then, but a few weeks later, he somehow tracked her down and says, "Well, would you like to be on my show? You can read poetry on my show." Now,
Oh my
I
goodness.
never knew this background about her. So it turns out that she her book became the number one poetry book in the United States for a while, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
And I never knew that about her. And so somebody saw her on Johnny Carson reading poetry and joking around with Johnny, and they said she'd be perfect for Three's Company. So that's how she got in Three's Company. It all started because she stayed and hung around in the
Right.
commissary, and she had no idea that was going to happen, right? Nobody had any idea. And yet, one thing led to the next. And then Three's Company became enormously successful. And a classic story there, just not a lot less thing I'll say about it, but she publicized it quite a bit. She wanted to get a little bit of an increase in compensation, and this is kind of the beginning of and because she was a very popular character on that show, and she ended up losing her job in that show. She was on it for 3 or 4 years, whatever length of time, and but she chose a real positive attitude. She said, "You know what? I'm not going to get mad at them. Something good will come out of all this." And then she started going on to all these different things. She would go to Vegas, perform there, all these different things, and then she also promoted things like the Thigh Master. You probably remember those things.
Right.
And here's your one funny thing to remember. She was, you heard about the Thigh Master, of course. That was very successful, right? Did you know she had something called the Butt Master?
I didn't know that.
I know that did not succeed because People didn't like the name of it. They didn't want to walk into the store. Where's the butt master?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
enough said. But the point is, none of us know what's going to lead to our next step, but we have to be active and involved and say yes and yes and yes and yes. And so you were on Oprah and all those different things, and now you have a business called the Itty Bitty Book Publishing Company. Am I saying it the right way?
Itty bitty publishing.
Itty Bitty Publishing.
Itty
But
bitty publishing.
you want to know
And
something? I think I was there when you came up with this idea. I think I get a percentage of this or something. But no,
ah,
I'm just teasing. But
I know
I,
you are.
I know when you first came up with the idea, and that's what a mastermind's all about. For those of you not
So
part of a mastermind, go ahead.
so when I joined Craig's mastermind, where you and I are both members, I was doing hypnosis and coaching. I was working with entrepreneurs to help them get rid of the blocks that were stopping them from moving forward in their businesses. And I mean, it's a huge story, but my sister and I had written a book in 2006,
Uh huh.
suggested by James Malinchek, where we called it Suzy Prudden's Itty Bitty Weight Loss Book. Because I was dealing with weight loss and I had a center and using hypnosis. I mean, I have so many businesses. And we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, it was an abysmal flop. We bought
Uh
2,000
huh.
copies of the book. I think I have 1,800 left.
Uh huh.
And I mean, that's like I sold 200. And so in 2014, I asked her to change the cover and make it smaller. And I was, I wasn't the publisher. So she did. And what she did when she showed me the book was
And
she took
what year was that?
2014.
Okay, so about 10 years ago.
So she
Interesting.
she took my name off the cover and the cover was now instead of Suzy Prudden's, which was on
Right.
everything for years, was now your amazing itty bitty weight loss book. And as I'm looking at it, the first thing I said, because my ego had a moment, my ego said, I'm not going to use my name. And I tempered that. And I said, you don't want to use my name? She said, I don't care. So I'm looking at the book and I said, well, actually, that's $1 million business. And we don't have to write the books. And Robert, literally, we were in business 3 days later. We had our first signed author 2 weeks later. We had our first published book 6 weeks later. And now I think we've published about 300 books. We have 138 bestsellers. We've done 138 campaigns. So we have a system where we can get you to be bestseller. And now I have Itty Bitty Publishing. I have Legacy Press for people who want to write stories because Itty Bitty is all about. And so I say, if I need to stop talking, tell me because
No,
I
no,
can.
I'm enjoying it. No, I like it. I would
Okay,
tell you if there was a problem.
so with Itty Bitty, I say Itty Bitty books. We write small books that make a big difference.
Hmm.
We're like the cliff notes of dummies. Dummies are 365 pages. You have to read with a yellow highlighter, and itty bitty books are the yellow highlights. Small
Hmm.
books, it's 30 pages, 15 chapters, two
Do you have one to
pages.
hold up there to show people? Do you have one sitting right there?
I have
And
every book.
I've seen a lot of these, by the way, and they're very good. As a matter of fact, I'm working on one with her. So
Yes, and I just figured out so many places for you to sell it. I'm so excited. So, okay, let's talk about this book here.
what does it say
This
on
is
the
a book
itty bitty
about
book?
mine.
I
It's
can't.
30 pages and it's filled with exercises to keep you healthy.
Was it
Now,
itty bitty? I can't
it's
quite read
called
it.
it's called Your Amazing Itty Bitty Magic Mind Book. 15 Secrets to Wellness and Success Using the Science of Your Mind. What this author is doing, she's working with insurance companies to help them help their clients stay healthy. It's not about getting well, which she also have books for that, but it's about staying healthy. And
Hmm.
she's working with insurance companies. Her first order was 100,000 books.
Wow.
So when you think of an itty bitty book, you think, oh, that's just a little thing. But okay, this is a great story. This woman, I get so excited about my authors. This woman wrote a book on space. This is called Your Amazing Itty Bitty Explore Space Now book,
Mm-hmm.
15 simple ways to personally and directly participate in space exploration right now. So I'm probably not going to go into space. You're probably not going to go into space, but the kids of today are probably going to go into space.
Yeah,
She
it's quite
called,
possible.
yeah, she called the Boys and Girls Club and said, I want to teach your kids what they need to know about space. And they said, yes. And so she's now setting up conference calls across the country with Boys and Girls Clubs. They're buying, each club is buying her book. There are 4 million kids in the Boys and Girls Club. So do the math. That's 4 million books.
Wow. Huh.
This gentleman, I get so excited about my authors. He's a sales coach and he works with the automotive industry. Using this book, he grew his company from $100,000 to $750,000 a year. It took him 2.5 years using that as his marketing tool. So an itty bitty book is massive in terms of what it can do for its readers and what it can do for the author. It's not about book sales. It's about how can you use your book to grow your company. When I was writing books in the 80s and 90s, no, when did I write books? I started in 71 and I wrote 11 books in 20 years. I did 18 national tours where I talked about my book. I became a household name. People came to my studio in New York City and in East Hampton, Long Island, because of all the publicity that I got because I wrote books.
Well, hold
And
on
I
one
did
second. We're going to have to go to a break again, but I want you to keep talking about it when we go to the break. So,
okay.
those of you on the radio, listening to the Gateway Show, this is Robert Sidell, AM 840 KXNT, number one station. Be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. This is Suzy Prudden I'm interviewing. Listen to this, my friends. You can become more successful after tonight. Stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. All right. You know, interesting.
You didn't know all this about me, did you?
No, I didn't actually. I mean, I know a little bit of it, but that's one of the things I like about doing this show. What's good. There's multiple things that are good. I'm just getting a realization even right now about what you're doing. What you and I are also doing is it's a nice chance for you to express some things about your book and your life and everything. And it's going to also be available on YouTube. And so you can access it. You can even send it to other people too. So it's going to be valuable to you also.
Thank
And
you.
uh, and my friends who are listening right now, you can also simulcast. I mean, you can also find this on YouTube at any time. Just go to YouTube, type in Gateway Podcast, and put in Sidell or Miracle or one of those two words, because there's a couple other shows that have the word Gateway in them. So Gateway Podcast and then Sidell, Sidell, and you'll be able to pull up this show also. So in any event, so yeah, you were just explaining. So um, yeah, it's quite interesting. And you just basically have new people coming to you seeking itty bitty books, and you've actually got a whole. We'll talk. I want to talk about this when we get back from the break too. But you have a whole kind of mastermind out of this whole thing too, don't you?
Yes, and it's interesting. So today, this weekend, yesterday and today, I did a workshop for my new authors. And we spent the 2 days literally writing their first 3 chapters of their books. And I showed them how, because we have a template, and like itty bitty books are, they're written, it's not just about free flow. They're written 15 chapters, 2 pages each, written in bullet points, numbered sentences, and paragraphs. And it's a small book. For example, we'll do this book. This is an interesting, let's do this book. So this is a book on health. And every page 1 is written in a paragraph and numbered sentences.
Huh.
Page 2 is written in paragraph and bullet points to support page 1. So it's really just exactly what the reader needs to do what they need to do for whatever it is they're reading about. There's no fluff, there's no story, and we only use the word you and your. There's no, when I was a little child, I did this and therefore that. No, it's not about us. It's not about we. It's not about there. It's only about you and your. It's written
Okay, hold on
specifically
a second. Yeah, hold your thought right
to
there.
the reader.
Yeah, no, I
Are we good?
yeah, but just say we're going back in there just a second. Good evening, Mr. Robert Sidell, the Gateway Show on number one talk station here in Las Vegas, and simulcasting on Facebook. And as I was just saying it during the break, we also are on YouTube. If you ever want to listen to what this is later on, you think, hey, I want to hear what that lady Suzy Prudden had to say about how you can publish a book, how you can become more successful. You can go to YouTube and just type in the word Gateway Podcast, put in the word Miracle 2 or something, and that way you'll get to the right one. Or my name's Sidell. And you can also subscribe to it, and that will allow you to hear this whole message and find out what you can do in your own life to publish a book and then make yourself more successful. Because it isn't just about publishing books. She's got a whole formula for success, really. And I think as much as anything, it's saying yes to opportunities, right? That's a lot of what your life has been, isn't it?
That is how my life has been, saying yes to opportunities and not knowing where that was going to take me. I sold my first book at a cocktail party in East Hampton, Long Island in 1971. And I met an editor there. I told her about this idea that I had because I had a fitness school and I specialized in toddlers. I told her there's a whole idea that, and it was an opportunity. There was an editor. She worked for a big publishing house. I didn't know that what was politic or not politic. I just talked to her and told her an idea. She said, do you have an outline? I said, yes. She said, may I pick it up on Monday morning on my way back to Manhattan? I said, yes. And I wrote it over the weekend. I mean, it's really taking advantage of what shows up.
That's we could if everybody listening take advantage of what shows up, and I'm sure there's times I have missed that too, in all honesty. But but nonetheless, if you get in a habit of saying yes to opportunities enough times, good things are going to start happening.
Always. So I want to talk to you for just a sec about the importance that a book can do over time. So
Mm-hmm.
I started in business in 1965. I was 22 years old. I didn't know anything. And I grew that business into $1 million business. When I sold it and I moved on to the next business, I did this several times. I didn't know what it meant. I really didn't know. Because I took advantage of the books and the tours, I actually became a household name. Now that was in a long time ago. But this is what happened. Last year, in 2023, I was at a conference in Orlando, Florida. I live in Los Angeles. I was at a conference in Orlando, Florida, and I was at the restaurant because I got there early. I was having lunch. I had my badge on. So I'm walking out of the restaurant. I pass a table with 4 ladies sitting there, and one of them looks up at me and goes, Suzy Prudden. It's like, what? She said, I have your books. Now, this is 2023. I have not written a book since 1992. That's 30 years.
Wow.
This is the book.
Wow. Change your mind, change your body. Huh.
Um, and also the book that got me on the Oprah show, Meta Fitness, which is published by Hay House. So you don't know. And what for those of you who are listening, watching, everything you do makes a difference. Everything. There is no small thing. It's all part of your history, your legacy.
I hope everybody listening hears that. There's no. It comes back to that notion of me picking up the phone and calling somebody the last day I could have called them, and
Right,
then that opened a whole chapter of my life. I've got now 4 children. I'm married. I mean, whole business here. None of that would have happened if I'd gone told
right.
2 days later. So we don't know what's big or small, do we, at the moment?
No. And the other thing that's important and it's really important is keep asking. When I was on The Prime of Your Life in New York in the 70s, there was a producer, Larry Johnson. I used to call him every week with an idea for my own show. And Larry was a gentleman. He was wonderful. And he said, "Thank you, Suzy. That's not what we want to do right now, but keep calling." I kept calling. He said, "Keep calling." I kept calling. And then one day, Larry called me and he said, "Suzy, would you like to do?" And then he explained this show to me. It was my show on NBC,
Wow.
a talk show.
Huh.
And it was fun. I said, "Larry, just tell me what day, what time, and where I need to go." And we did a show. But that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't kept calling.
If you hadn't persisted.
Right.
That's why I'm glad you're saying this to me too. We all have to remember that. And we interestingly enough, that's one of the ways I'm successful in my business, but also persisting in settling cases too.
Yes.
I'm not too proud to pick up the phone and call somebody to try to get a case worked out, and it usually works sooner or later. If you're patient, and but there's so many different things. Wow, I mean, just thinking to myself, and I'm sure there's times, you know what, I probably should have been a little more, but it's the law of averages, right? You're not going to bat 1,000. You're not going to hit every single opportunity, but if you just keep doing it enough, you're
Yes.
going to be successful.
Yes.
To
And it's
here you
really
and I
just,
are, you're still in your. Not, I guess you're not technically in your 70s anymore, are you? You're now
no,
80.
I'm
You said, right?
I'm not quite 81. I'll be 81 next month.
Well, I'm thinking of my dad when he was your age. I don't think you ever met my dad. I'm pretty sure you didn't. But in fact, I'm sure you didn't. But he passed in 2013. But the first day of 2013. But he was born in 1913. So he actually spanned over 100 years, although he only lived to 99 and a half. And
That's a
but
long time.
I know. I'm just teasing a little. But I want to tell you something interesting. When he was 92, he went to Antarctica. Just as an example. It just sounds good, right? But he actually did. He went on a cruise down there with
Oh,
some of my.
fantastic.
Yeah, so he was very, very dynamic and active his whole life. And, to the very, very end, where he wasn't so active, but he still was participating in his life. And even a week before he died, he was saying to people, "I don't know if I really want it ready to go yet. I'm still having too much fun." And he's 99 and a half. Although the irony of it is, at that point, Susie, he was blind in one eye and deaf and almost deaf. So a lot of his physical, in fact, I'll tell you something.
The body does break down. My mother lived to be 97, and the last couple of years her body was breaking down. My mother lived basically she was all used up. She really had a full life. She
By the
was
way,
an
that's a good affirmation, isn't it? You want to be used up when you die.
Yeah, you don't want to go out, you know, as if you have time. When you leave, it's like, "Oh, please, just take me."
Well, yeah, that's what it was like for my dad a little bit. He about a month before he died, he would eat and then he would throw up about an hour later. So we knew this is not a formula for a long life. You can't
Right? You
keep
can't do that.
you can't do that too long. So I asked my dad, and it's funny because he would eat and he was fine, but then he would throw up. And so I asked him. I said, so because we were very close, he's right here in Las Vegas, and I said he moved over here the last 7 years of his life, and I said, would you like me? I could get you set up with something, or they could put a feeding tube on you or something.
Right.
And he says, no, Bob. He goes, I've had a really good life, so
Yeah.
it's my time to go. So he was at peace with that, and so but that's what we want, right? You want to get to the point, if you can, where it's also your time. You've
Right.
lived fully and richly, and
Right.
and probably as one guy that I studied with once used to say, you probably crashed and burned a couple times. That was his terminology.
Oh, please. I've done that many times. It's like, okay, what is this crash and burn teaching me? I
What?
had one of those recently
Oh yeah.
where
What
I
way?
was bank frauded. And that's a terrifying experience.
You were what? I missed that. What'd you say?
My bank account was
Oh, somebody
hacked. Yeah,
got hacked in your. Oh, that's bad.
yeah, it was bad, and all kinds of ramifications afterwards. My credit did all kinds. It was not a good thing. So I had to step back and look at, and actually my stress level was so high that I ended up in the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. And my stress level was so high, I backed up. I said, okay, Suzy, what's the lesson here? What is this experience teaching you? And what I realized is that I was doing too much. I was doing a $30,000 workshop over here, $10,000 workshop over there. I mean, 25. I mean, it's like I was spread out so thin, and the universe basically said, "No, excuse me, you got to stop this, or you're not going to make it." And so, what the experience said, and I always look for the gift. Stop, pull in, regroup, and then move forward again, which is what I did. And so, and I'm going to suggest to viewers, listeners, when you have stuff that happens that is really uncomfortable, and that was uncomfortable, take a look. What's going on in your life that you have to pay attention to? It's the same thing when I was on the Oprah show. 8 months later, I was homeless. I mean, that's an
It's funny.
extraordinary adventure.
You just planted a very with a show that could go on. I think you did tell me that story a little bit once before, but problem is we got to go to a break in about a minute. But you could talk about it a little more maybe during the break. But wow, that's hard to believe. I do remember you talking about that. You know, ended up living with different friends for a while, right, or something.
Oh, yeah, I spent 10 months basically on the road. And I was very, very lucky because this is funny, Robert. And at my TED talk, I talk about this. You got to look at it. You'll laugh yourself silly because I was rich. I wasn't rich. I was broke, but I was famous because I had just finished my tour with Hay House. I did 15 cities and I had just finished my tour. So I'm a famous person. I'm a celebrity.
Right.
So, but I have no money and I have no
Oh.
place to live. But I was able to stay at places like Rancho La Puerta in Mexico. It's a 5-star spa. I mean, I would drive into Rancho La Puerta on Saturday morning, literally not knowing where I was going to be living a week later.
Wow.
Between Saturday and Saturday, I would create my next
Okay, and
adventure.
on that thought, I want to keep going, but we have to go to a break again. So
Okay,
this is
okay.
Robert Sidell. It's the Gateway Show. This is Suzy Prudden just telling how she was on Oprah and 8 months later was homeless. I said that could be a whole show itself. So folks, we'll be back in just a moment, and Reverend Ernie is going to join us too at that point. So we'll be
Cool.
back in just a moment.
Nice. Thank you.
Hold on one second here. Okay. Um, interesting. So I just was going. It's funny. I was just at a church service this morning, and the guy was saying he showed a picture of somebody getting on a roller coaster, screaming and stuff, and he says sometimes life is like that.
It is. It's definitely like that. And you have to know that you're okay, even when you don't know you're okay.
Hey, Ernie. It's a little. Well, I'll wait until it balances out. Yeah, you look okay. You look. I mean, it's. I just want to make sure you have enough light. Ernie always comes on every Sunday evening. He says prepares a prayer for us, which is very nice. Ernie grew up in India and was sponsored over here when he was like 18 years old, and
Right.
Ernie's pretty close to your age, actually, Suzy. Ernie also looks young for his age. He's you're 78, but you'll be 79 in August, right?
Yeah, I'll be 79 in August. Yeah.
What's your birth date?
August 15th.
I'm the 24th.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you both are interesting.
So you're a Leo, I'm a Virgo.
Okay.
So before we go back, I have a gift for everybody. Can I put that in the chat?
Absolutely, absolutely. No reason not to. No, it's absolutely okay.
Cool.
And we'll I'll just finish a couple of thoughts up with you, and then because we have another very nice woman minister that usually comes on, but she also performs weddings, and tonight she's performing a wedding right now, as a matter of fact, as we speak. So she couldn't be on tonight. But
I became a minister so I could perform weddings.
what did you say?
I said I became a minister
So,
So,
so you can perform weddings.
yes.
That's interesting. Yeah. More people. It's funny. I'm an ordained minister now. I've just had more people asking me lately to do their weddings. Not a lot, but um, it's always a nice honor.
It's
My
very
my first son asked me to perform his wedding, and then my daughters asked me to perform a wedding. So
nice.
okay, we'll be out in a second. So it's just in those particular kind of cases, it's kind of a responsibility. One of my employees asked me to do his wedding. I did his last year. So it's like anyway, but that's pretty much the ones I do right now are more on people I know personally.
Me too.
Um,
Too.
yeah. So um, yeah, when you come back, we'll make a little summary. You can set and absolutely put it in there.
I
Absolutely.
did. So I put in my calendar link so people can
Oh, you're doing
talk
that
to
on
me if they
Facebook.
want to.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
then I put in a free gift where um, I did several
Oh, there it is.
audio recordings.
It says Mary Elizabeth Tracy. Mary Tracy. Is that you? Is that what you just put in?
No, it says it's it's the chat, and it says
Well, I think I
calendar
know Mary
link,
Tracy. I don't know.
and
Somebody just
then
posted something with a link. I was wondering what it is.
okay. So anyway,
Okay, hold on one second. This is Robert
certainly
Sidell. Welcome you back to the Gateway Show. I'm having fun interviewing Suzy Prudden tonight. If somebody just listened to this one show and applied these principles, your life would get so much more successful. And that's true of me too. That's why I'm really glad. Um, one of my listeners very sweetly just put the link into your TED Talk on
oh
Facebook.
sweet.
Isn't that nice?
It's a really fun talk.
Thank you, Mary. That's very sweet of you. That's very sweet of you. Um, that's nice. Yeah, there are a lot of nice listeners to this show, and some of them listen now. A lot of people listen later on, and it just they know it's on here, and they just tune in when it works for them. But so you go ahead. I've been talking to Suzy Prudden, who's been on Oprah, done all sorts of really amazing things. Now she has a business called Itty Bitty Publishing Company, which I'm working with her on a book myself at the moment on
I'm
that.
so excited about your book, Robert.
So
I'm really
yes, I thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. So why don't you just mention you want to do a gift, you want to offer something on here, and then we'll let Ernie say his prayer too.
what I put it in the chat. I put my calendar link if you want to make an appointment to talk to me. It's no charge. I mean, just talk to me. Tell me what you're interested in terms of maybe a book you want to write. I also put in, I have 4 guided imagery processes on writing a bestseller book. I have 4 guided imagery processes on making more money. It's a wealth series. And I don't know if you know who Greg Reed is, but he wrote the book 3 Feet from Gold. I know him through CEO Space. And he got my processes on my wealth series. And he told me, he said, Suzy, I listen to your wealth series processes every night before I go to sleep, one at a time. And I've grown my business. I've increased my income, I think 30%. He went from making $1 million a year to making $3 million a year, using it just one night a week, one process every night. The wealth process, he increases
So
income.
and you're going to put that link in?
I put it in.
Okay, great.
I put it in. It's there.
I'm trying to think. There's also okay, okay, that's fantastic. So, okay, as long as your link is all there, and if anybody needs, for example, wants to get this link or wants some more information, you can always call me at my office. Look up LasVegasAttorney.com or RobertSidell.com. You can always call, and we're glad to give you the information too. So I'm going to let Reverend Ernie, and you can stick with us for a second if you want. You have final thoughts if you want. Reverend Ernie, what prayer do you have to share with us tonight?
All right. Thank you, Robert. The prayer topic is you may be one step away from your success. Take action now.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Dear Lord, we thank you for this blessed day, and we show our gratitude for blessing us with creativity and talents to live fully according to your plan in our journey. Lord, grant us to be aware and recognize the many ways and directions that you have set forth for us to be happy, joyful, forgiving, loving, kindness, and compassion, and we take action now for our success. We pray we stay focused in our thoughts and to be proactive and take positive actions to create happy, joyful life with God's grace that surrounds us, creating heaven on earth, and so it is. Amen.
Susie, you can see it's very sweet, isn't it? Ernie does these very sweet prayers.
Nice. But it's totally right on. It's
Uh,
really, if you really want to move your life forward, first thing is be grateful. Next thing is take action.
Grateful, take action. And by the way, somebody else just posted on it. I've been listening on the radio, and now they're going to listen to your TED Talk. So you know what, my friends, I guess we have a couple more minutes actually. So Susie, if you had, Mary Tracy, Mary, you're back in Missouri now, aren't you? If I remember right, I think if the one that she posted the link to your show, you'll see what she posts on here. That's the one fun thing about Facebook. Some people can post it or comment, but you know what? Um, the bottom line is that all of us, if we just keep our eyes open, that's what I've been. It's funny, the opportunities can open up in a single day, right? That you weren't expecting when you woke
Oh,
up in the morning.
absolutely. And what's important, Robert, is remember it is a roller coaster. It does go up and down, and it's not, oh my God, my life is tanking. What do I do? It's like it's supposed to at that time, and then it brings you back up again. The question I always ask myself or God when I'm in a difficult, what is the gift here?
Yeah,
What do
that's
I
beautiful.
need to learn to move my life forward? Why do I have the alien on my face and I can't see what's going on? Why am I suffering? Well, we had to get your attention.
I'm sure I'll just go say yes. I understand that. I mean, all of us. I've fallen on my face too. So I'm not. I think everybody has one way or another, right? And the lucky part is we're still alive, right, Ernie?
Exactly. We're still doing it. We're still showing up.
And we're still dreaming and reaching for the stars, and and I think we're designed to keep reaching for more things, and we got to keep feeding our minds. We got to be careful as we get older that we give up our dreams. I think that's it, because then we are on a downhill spiral at that point, aren't we?
Yeah, and then it's really about catching yourself and saying, hold on. Because we go into, I mean, I've gone into really difficult depressions, and I have to remember, okay, so I'm here now, but it's a moment. It's just a moment. It's not forever.
Yeah, if you can remember that, that's the secret, right? You got to
Yeah,
remember
and
that.
sometimes it's hard.
Of course,
But
yeah.
then what I've done when I'm in that low spot is I get help. I can't do it myself at that point. I need help.
Well, I was
And
going
so
to say, yeah,
I
if
reach
you
out.
really get into a real dark place, yes, you want to do that. I think
Absolutely.
we're getting, and I strongly support that because it may keep you alive. That will keep you alive, right? If you need that. So you got to be alive to get to the next day, right?
Yep.
Well, listen, we're almost out of time here. Susie, it's been a real delight interviewing
Thank
you,
you,
and you know
Robert.
what? Also, good learning for me. I mean, I need to be reminded all the time. So this show is very valuable to me. Your messages are really good, inspiring, and Reverend Ernie is a dear friend of mine. In fact, he took me out to lunch. Uh, now I'm going to have taken you out to lunch in a couple weeks for your birthday, Ernie. But in any event, Ernie's a very devoted, kind person, and really tries to serve people and help people all the time. So he's a very, very nice person.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me on your show, Robert.
it's really good. And here we are. They're closing it out. So all my friends, may God bless you. Remember, because life is miraculous, the best is yet to come. Let's keep the faith. Let's believe and know. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Ernie. Until next week, I wish you all the best. This is Robert Sidell. God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you. Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
Trust in miracles.
Bye.
Trust in miracles. That's it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.